Welcome to Akhand Vidyashram, the first institute of impeccable wisdom. GYAN Indriya, the ascending tracts of impeccable wisdom. Divyank, the walking, talking encyclopedia. My mission, the impeccable wisdom, knowing which everything is fully known. My greatest discovery, Divyank, the divine design of nature with which the perfect objects are designed and created. Divyank is a reward of 60 years of integrated education. Gyan Indriya, otherwise wisdom nerve tracts. The nerve tracts are nerves which enlighten us with all the knowledge. And I do believe right education, right knowledge, impeccable wisdom is enlightening and empowering. So Gyan Engineering becomes very important because at the end of the day, it's the enlightenment which is going to help us to lead a beautiful, blissful life with all the knowledge otherwise. I still believe it's a knowledge which is important. Everything else is secondary. And for that, Gyan Indriya have to be understood and made optimum use of. And this picture is nothing new because I've already used it. This picture originates from Katha Upanishad. A sense is where Katha Upanishad says a parable of chariot is given in which human body there are two souls. One soul which enjoys all the fruits of the body, and second soul is just silent witness to that. He does not take part, but is silent with, and I'm sure to say that particular soul has got higher purpose within that which is Katha Upanishad is talking about. Let's now redefine this particular picture with a picture of Gita Upadesh, and what I understand, let me share with you. In my understanding, chariot represents the human body, the physical human body, which quote in quote I call GYAN, made of 100 trillion cells and with all atoms, elements, molecules, compounds, cells to tissues to this. Total organism of human body is nothing but represented as a chariot in this particular case. Then there are 5 horses. Then these 5 horses represent 5 normal senses which we are normally using, all of us are using. So from that point of view, I think we can understand the chariot represent our physical body of all of us. Horses represent the 5 normal senses which we are all using. Now, the reins which are associated with the 5 horses represent the mind or manas. This is emotional, concrete mind which all of us are well aware of. We are using left, right and mind. So one thing is very clear. Chariot represents the physical body, Jivatma, and horses represent 5 senses, and reins represent manas. And this is common to all the human beings. So that's my understanding is, when I see the entire people, they are using, all of us are using this. But when it comes to the question of Arjuna and Lord Krishna, there is something more. And I would say Arjuna for that matter, represents Antaratma, or the indwelling human soul. And that is responsible for Buddhi. Now let me explain it in my own understanding is, person who is self-realized, who is in tune with his own inner voice of silence of indwelling soul, which you can be Antaratma or Kundalini, whatever you may call it, that particular person would be able to integrate the entire 100 trillion cells of the body, all the senses, all the mind, Buddhi to the soul as one particular pathway. As a result, that particular person like Arjuna will be able to concentrate on any one object so beautifully and achieve all the objectives of the life intelligently. And I see quite a lot of people around the world who have been very successful in any particular field like Arjuna. We have so many successful people. And in my opinion, they must be self-realized because their soul must be awakened, and soul is able to see one thing. And as I have already said, there is one soul and one mind, one intellect, and all the senses at one time. You could be super intelligent person, and that is what Arjuna is all about. Fine. Now, as far as Lord Krishna is concerned, in my opinion, he represents divine consciousness, Paramatma, which is intuitive wisdom, intuitive impeccable wisdom. He represents much higher than that. For this, we need the second soul within the body, not Jivatma, Antaratma alone. And that is Katha Upadesh is talking about the Atma, second Atma, which is witness to the whole thing, but does not take part in anything. Where Arjuna is enjoying all the fruits of the physical body, but Krishna is just witness, but is able to give you something more than that. And that is what I mean is intuitive, impeccable wisdom or Mahat, which Katha Upadesh is talking about. And from that point of view, I do believe this particular picture has lots and lots to explain to us or show to us how we can make optimum use of ourselves and be in tune with our own body, be in tune with universal consciousness, lead a perfectly healthy life, and make the entire world also get the wisdom which can help them to move on in a much better way. So from that point of view, this particular picture, I think I have redefined in my own understanding what these two souls, which Katha Upadesh is talking about, is one Antaratma, what is Paramatma. Now, let's talk of the 5 normal senses. First sense, which I always talk about, is Shruti or hearing, which is associated with Akash Kosh or Akash Bhuta, which is subtlest part of the thing. And that's the reason I have already explained also Akash Kosh, Akash Bhuta, Akshara. All the words, Aksharas, are associated with hearing. And this is information of sound is carried from the external world to one part in a process through external ear, which is made of 3 parts, middle ear, another 3 parts, inner ear, 3 parts. And all the receptors of sound are in the inner ear. From there, pathway is created to carry the information, sound vibrations, to temporal cortex for storage and to be recollected at a later date. And also the information is carried to other associated areas too. So one sense, electrical sense, Shruti, hearing, this is the pathway. Second sense, which is very important, is the vision. And vision is associated with light, also fire, Agni element, and pathway is object of light, then travel of the light through the atmosphere, falling in the cornea, from cornea to aqueous humor, through the lens, vitreous humor to retina, and then optic nerve, optic tract to thalamus, and from thalamus information going to occipital region of the brain for perception. And it's also associated visual, there are 2 in that. One primary, one is associated vision. So I'm sure the pathway or GYAN Indriya of vision is a particular process. Okay, and pupillary reflex, the combination I've already explained how we can make our optic system perfect so that we can see the external world as well as internal world in clear light. Other 2 senses are chemical senses. One is smell and other is taste. And there is a close association with both senses which I have already spoken about in Sugandh and Suswad. The smell is with the nose, olfactory receptors, olfactory bulb, olfactory tract to hippocampus, amygdala, and of course olfactory cortex, and association with hypothalamus is very clear. This particular information by the first cranial nerve, which is sensory in nature, is the only sense which does not go to thalamus directly and to higher neocortex. But it has got an association with taste. How? Taste sensations are carried through gustatory receptors in the tongue. Anterior 61%, 803% of the taste fibers are there in the anterior part of the tongue, and they are responsible for good taste. And the information is carried cauda tympanoid nerve of the facial nerve to nucleus tactus solitarius for perception. And posterior 38.1966% is through the glossopharyngeal nerve, which is ninth cranial nerve, which is again a parasympathetic nerve along with the facial nerve to nectar, and from there the information is carried to thalamus, and from thalamus is carried to hypothalamus and associated with smell. This association is very important because both are chemical. Here, as I would remind again, water plays very important role in both the sensations. If you have adequate amount of water, 61.803% within the cells, body and nose, you will be able to perceive. And one of the scientific evidence which I have given, when nose is dry or blocked with cold or there is atrophy, we cannot enjoy the flavor even the best coffee because the circuit is not complete. So that way, two electrical sensations, two chemical sensations are very important, that we have to make sure that if you want to have a GYAN Indriya completely, we got to make sure that this part of the sensory nervous system is very, very clear. So I'm sure these four sensations pathways are very clear. I don't think anybody would have any doubt at all. Let's go to the fifth normal sense, which all of us, as I told you, sparsh or the touch, has got three different kinds of sensations. One, fine touch, proprioception or vibration or deep touch, and the pain and temperature. And as I've also told you, in the skin, you do have 7 different kinds of receptors for sensations. 3 are with fine touch, 3 are with proprioception, and 1 open end with pain and temperature. If you remember that, then you will understand that there are 3 different pathways of touch through which we perceive the touch. Now, 2, fine touch and proprioception are almost a common pathway, where information from the skin is carried through the nerve to the dorsal root ganglion, and then through the posterior thing, information is carried right up to medulla oblongata. Then second order neurons cross over to the rise from opposite sides. They go to thalamus, and from thalamus the third order neuron goes to postcentral gyrus or parietal cortex, which is somatosensory cortex. So I think fine touch and deep touch or proprioception, as given on the left side of the picture, is very clear. Same side, rise up to medulla and then cross over, go there. Whereas in case of pain and temperature, pathway goes to this same side of the opposite side at the segment of the spinal cord. And why it does that? Because this pain and temperature could be dangerous, and they need to be protected immediately. We cannot waste time for the signal to go up to the brain and come the order from there. So immediate sensory is carried to the spinal cord, to the posterior side. Interneurons take the decision, and immediate response is done as a segmental reflex. As a result, the fibers cross over to this opposite side, so that both the sides work in tune to protect ourselves. What a beautiful nature. But from second order through the lateral spinothalamic tract, go up to thalamus, and then for perception goes to postcentral gyrus or parietal cortex through third order neurons. I'm sure this particular revision also gives you how beautiful is our nervous system and why we should understand each one so that we can understand each sensation very clear. And the knowledge is important, because if you have a good experience of this sensation crossing within body, you can really feel, and I can tell you from my experience, I can track any sensations pinpoint within my body. There's absolutely no confusion. I've done that over and over. And this result is only from my experience, that I'm putting across a pathways which I have experienced, not a copy of what others have done. So from now, 5 sensations are very, very clear, which are associated with 5 horses, 5 reins, connected with emotion, mind, physical body, and so up to that, I don't think there's any confusion. Everything has been well explained. Now let's go to the next. 2 sensations are 2 aspects of GYAN Yoga or GYAN Indriya. Let us understand. One, as far as intellect is concerned, as to the Arjuna is concerned, is soul which gets internalized into the ventricles, which I have already spoken in my earlier things. When it goes inside the ventricles, as a result, soul is able to integrate all the cells of the body. And you can call it all the atoms, molecules, compounds, cells, tissues, organs, organism, as such, would be totally integrated. Such a person would be able to have complete focus on one subject at a time without any problem. In other words, sensory organs, mind, intellect become one, associated with indwelling human soul called Antaratma or Kundalini. So that way, this particular thing is associated with consciousness well within the ventricles of the brain or the central canal of that. And I think I have already spoken about as a Antaryog or Vakhand Yoga can help you do that. So I think intellect is concerned, there is absolutely no doubt about that particular concept. But I've shown in this picture, the picture drawn by me way back, 3 outer layers of the neocortex are the gray matter, the receptors. They act as an antenna to the divine internet of Akash Kosh and can bring intuitive, impeccable wisdom from Akash Kosh. These layers are not found in other brains, but unfortunately, most of the human beings are not using outer 3 layers. Our entire circuit of reflex arch and reflex action is only up to 4th layer of neocortex, not beyond that. To go beyond that, we need another soul, which Katha Upadesh is talking about, the second soul, which is a witness, and Gita Upadesh is talking about Lord Krishna, Paramatma, the divine consciousness. If I associate Antaratma with helium-4, inert matter, I associate Paramatma with neon-21. I have already explained the description of Atma as far as ancients are concerned is very clear. It cannot be dissolved, it cannot be burnt, it cannot be cut, it cannot be done. And that quality is in anything, in any atom or element, otherwise it is only noble gases or inert matter. So that way inert matter and Atma is very clear. It can be only a catalyst. It cannot take part in any of the chemical reactions, unlike other atoms and elements, which are unstable. So from that angle, it is very clear. Now we have 5 senses, mind. We also understand what Buddhi and intellect is associated with Antaratma, how it's able to make us very intelligent person, which I see many people around the world are able to use their super intelligence to do wonders in life. So we have lots and lots of enlightened, intelligent souls in the world. But there is something which rare. The pathway for impeccable intuitive wisdom is something which is not very common. So let me tell you intuitively, Whenever we fail to achieve the objectives of life and suffer from distress, we always look up towards heaven, cosmos. The question, why? There must be something in the higher consciousness which we are looking forward. And that is what is Akash Kosh, or the design of, you can call it Milky Way or spiral galaxy, is what Devyank rectangle is all about, and that is the divine design, Devyank. So when we look up, that means that the source of impeccable wisdom is Akash Kosh. And as I have already shown, records of the past, present, and future events are stored in the Schumann resonance field of the ionosphere, which is called Akash Kosh, and its core rhythmic value should be 7.83 Hz, which is alpha frequency of the lower C. If you can produce that throughout the brain with eyes open and eyes closed, you can be in tune with universal consciousness. And I've already demonstrated that I'm able to do that. I've done over a year. As a result, I've been able to use my intuitive, impeccable wisdom to get Devyank from thing which is also for the first time. So I leave it to the world how they take it. So from that point of view, neocortex can be called the mirror image of cosmos, also because it looks also like that, it can do that. So from that point of view, now we have 7 senses which are important. 5 normal senses are hearing, vision, smell, taste, touch. And the 6th one, sense which also many other people have used it in around the world, they talk about 6th sense, and that is intelligence or Buddhi. But 7th sense, which to be in tune with universal consciousness, I don't think it has been spoken so explicitly with a kind of scientific evidence and proven that it exists. Possibility of 7th sense has been there, but not really used it optimally. And I'm glad with the help of Akhand Yoga's 10 stages, I'm able to do that and bring down the information from Akash Kosh and then show this is Devyank, this is what is responsible for perfect anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, and psychology, and all the mysteries of that can be completely dissolved with Devyank. So that way I do feel that GYAN Indriya should be made of 7. That sequence should be 7. It's very important so that we can go to the next stage of Karma Indriya, how we can do things intelligently and make a change to ourselves. And this picture, of course, in my opinion, is represent the entire Divyank into one. We have been speaking little, but in this particular picture, I can tell you right at the top, the one with the 10 symbol right on top of that Trishul kind of thing, a trident kind, is Paramatma, or the divine consciousness or divine soul, which quote unquote can be related to Lord Krishna. But below that 9 thing, there is green bluish color soul, which is Antaratma, which is in the ventricles of the brain, and that is Antaratma. So other 5 senses, right from the right, you can see the wings represent the mind, and lower part represent the body. So this also, technically speaking, can be called Rath, which has got 5 horses, reins, mind, then Arjun as well as Krishna. I'm sure it can be seen, and I'm happy that knowingly, unknowingly, having made now, I'm able to understand and appreciate and explain at the same time. Anyway, thank you very much. It has been wonderful talking to you. Thank you.